Making up your mind about whether to buy a house or rent it is certainly not easy. In order to choose the right option, it's essential to consider a variety of personal factors, such as your finances, geographical location, and life situation. It may be easy to convince yourself that you're perfectly capable of handling the expenses and long-term commitment required to purchase a home, but the reality can be far from it. So it's still worth it to examine the signs that could be indicating now's not the right time to become a homeowner and that renting is a wiser strategy for you. Here are 8 signs you should rent and not buy a house. Number 8, you may be moving in the next few years. It's no surprise that buying and owning a property works best as a long-term investment because it takes time to break even on the purchase. The point is to stay in the house long enough for the equity you get from paying off the mortgage to outweigh a dozen additional costs. These include the realtor's commission, capital gains taxes, and moving fees, to name a few, so there'll be a lot of costs to cover before you can even think of reselling the property. In general, it takes about 5 years for your investment in a home to bring sufficient money. So if you think you might move in the next 5 years, renting is definitely the better option for you. And even if you think you're ready to stay put after you buy the house, it doesn't hurt to take an honest look at how secure your life situation is. If you're between jobs, don't have a solid career path yet, or might relocate for work in the near future, it's way safer to continue renting. Same goes for your personal life as well, which you must evaluate before making the all-important decision of becoming a homeowner. Unless your relationship is on a stable footing and you're 100% sure you're ready to settle down, take a step back and consider renting instead. Besides the stability of your career and personal life, it's also crucial to think about the lifestyle you're aiming for, and whether being in the same place reflects where you'd like to be in the next 5 years. After analyzing these aspects of your life, if there's even a slight chance that circumstances might lead you to move in the next couple of years, it's best to wait to buy a home until you're 100% certain you can stay in a new house for at least 5 years. Remember, renting offers you the kind of flexibility and freedom that buying a house doesn't. Number 7, buying means a longer commute. A long commute is a factor that's mostly overlooked by people searching for a new house. It's likely that the property you're willing to purchase is in your price range, but quite far away from your workplace. And initially, that may not seem like a huge problem, but it can be way more troubling than you'd think. A longer commute can add an extra 10% to the price of the house, since extra mileage comes with extra costs, such as higher insurance and the costs of fuel and maintenance. Not to mention the fact that because of the extra distance, you might have to upgrade your car sooner than you had planned. Aside from the additional expenditure, a longer commute can negatively impact your health as well. Studies show that with an increase in the amount of time and distance people commute, their stress levels can elevate over time, which can lead to health problems such as obesity, hypertension, and back pain. So you need to ask yourself if having a permanent home far away from your workplace is truly worth it. Number 6, you have inadequate emergency savings. There's no denying that financial setbacks and money emergencies can hit you when you least expect them. Regardless of your intentions and how ready you think you are to own a house with your current employment status, it's necessary to have enough emergency savings in your account. Most financial advisors and planners suggest having the equivalent of at least a year's worth of basic expenses in your savings account, just as a safety net in case of a sudden job loss or huge unexpected expenses. If you're unable to deposit enough into your savings account, you may want to wait for a more stable cash flow to reach your saving goal before looking for a house to buy. Number 5, you have a significant amount of debt. If you're struggling with debt of any kind, you might want to steer clear of yet another one. On top of owing money to creditors, taking on a substantial mortgage debt can put you into some serious financial problems later on. So it's wise to get rid of your pre-existing debt first before thinking about purchasing a house. Take your time to work on your debt-to-income ratio before making any serious plans for homeownership. Number 4, low credit score. Your credit score is more impactful than you may have realized, and when it's significantly low, it can tip the balance in the direction of renting, especially in expensive housing markets. So one of the most important things to do before taking a step towards homeownership is to check your credit rating. It not only determines whether you're eligible for a home loan, but also decides the interest rate you're charged on the mortgage. Your chances of securing a lower interest rate increase with a higher credit score. But if your credit rating isn't enough to secure a mortgage, you'll have to build it up and work towards better financial stability to afford monthly payments. Number 3, the housing market is overpriced. Those seeking to be new homeowners often get tricked into buying an overpriced property, thinking that it will be worth more in the future. However, it's important to remember that buying at the top of the market brings profits to real estate investors who are quick to sell and mostly creates losses for buyers. Once there's a great demand for property, the market cycle instantly changes and becomes hot, prompting everyone to start looking for houses to purchase. With packed open houses and buyers making attractive offers on the spot, it's easy to crack under the pressure and make a rash decision without thoroughly checking out the place. You may end up with an overpriced property having more repairs or costs than you had predicted. So if the housing market is way too upscale, it may be best to take a step back, be patient, and keep renting in the meantime. Number 2, you're unable to afford at least a 20% down payment. Homeowners that are unable to pay at least 20% of the total cost as a down payment are asked to purchase private mortgage insurance, or PMI, to protect the lender from non-payment. Although PMI mainly depends on the amount of your down payment as well as your credit rating, it's still a considerable percentage of the loan and can end up costing you additional thousands of dollars annually. Generally, you can stop paying for the mortgage insurance after hitting the 20% loan-to-value ratio. But because of a higher interest rate, it can easily put your finances in a tight spot. Not to mention the fact that you won't be building a lot of equity, since a huge chunk of your down payments would be going towards interest. So it's always recommended to save at least 20% down payment before you even start looking for a house in order to avoid paying for the PMI. If you don't have enough saved up, or simply can't afford to put down 20% down payment with your existing source of income, it's best to stick to renting while coming up with ways to generate more money. And number 1, you aren't ready to mow the lawn. Owning your own property comes with the freedom of decorating and renovating it the way you want to, without having to worry about the landlord increasing the rent, all of which seems quite pleasant in theory. But practically speaking, there's a side of being a homeowner that isn't so pleasant. You have to do all the legwork yourself. Whether it's mowing the lawn, cleaning the gutters, or dealing with a leaky septic tank, you can't ring the landlord and get the problem solved. There's a high chance that you'll almost always have a list of things to get done around the house, so make sure you're prepared for that kind of workload before buying your own place. All this maintenance can also cost a lot, so keep that in mind as well. Needless to say, being a property owner comes with a ton of responsibility and requirements, and you need to be fully ready before buying your own house.